put this off long enough, but this is one movie I can't afford to wait on anymore. It's time for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the movie. Chip and Dale first appeared in a World War II cartoon called Private Pluto, and has had several cartoons ever since. Whether paired with other Disney characters or on their own, their antics were about trying to get food and landing into comical situations because of it. They then had a redesign through their Rescue Rangers series, which made them anthropomorphic and took them on many adventures. I don't remember much of the show, though apparently it was on par with DuckTales in terms of quality, and is something that the movie builds off of. The first announcements for the Rescue Rangers movie generated quite a bit of excitement, until it was to be live action like other Disney remakes at the time. Even when it was clarified that it would be a hybrid movie akin to Roger Rabbit, I think most of us were like, huh. Bringing this film to life is director Akiva Schaffer, who worked for Saturday Night Live from 2005 to 2011, and had directed such classic movies as Hot Rod and Extreme Movie. And you also have Dan Greger, who wrote for movies like Doolittle and Magic Camp. Oh, and of course, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Sounds like a recipe for disaster given the mostly adult work they've done, yet the movie was a pleasant surprise for both critics and moviegoers. Must be a Sonic 1 and 2 situation, but there are things about it that I hoped were different. So where do I stand? Let's find out in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the movie. We open in the year 1982, and right away the setting really hooks you in. Like Roger Rabbit, it's a world where cartoons and humans coexist. I do like how they all try and accommodate each other.
Okay, what's the first thing that pops into your head when I say Chip and Dale? I'm willing to bet it's Thomas Chippendale, the London-based cabinet maker from the 17th...
And there we go, the humor in this movie. So this narration treats this scene like a documentary, and the one narrating is Dale, voiced by Andy Samberg, aka Ham from Space Chimps and Brent from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. He goes over how he met Chip when they were in school. And just to get this out of the way, I'm not a fan of how the chipmunks are animated. They're actually done with cell shading because, unlike the rest of the 2D cast, they're going to be in the real-life sets the most. Because of that, their animation can be a bit uncanny at times. Dale doesn't make a good first impression when he tries being a bit edgy.
My eye! It's in my eye! No!
But the one person who liked his little gag was Chip, who will later be voiced by John Mulaney. They become quick friends, and there's clearly thought about how the other animals are supposed to be attending school. It's really funny seeing them ride little bikes together and, oh my god, they have tiny homes! So far this movie seems to be more creative with its world than what was in Roger Rabbit, aside from how the actors don't sound like their original voices in the shorts.
Our grand finale, the amazing Dale will juggle everything!
It's the theater! Everyone will be dressed up!
But hey, it can't get any worse than that, right? Chip and Dale then try their luck in Hollywood with their comedic talents. I will not be stopping at every single reference or cameo I recognize here because there's far too many. But I will point at this Full House one because that's kind of funny and would probably happen in this version of reality. Eventually, they got the call to start their own TV series, that being Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And like with Roger Rabbit, they shoot their episodes through live filming. Over time, they become friends with their castmates and even make a name for themselves.
And the Roger Rabbit with Roger Rabbit.
Of course, this makes me wonder if this movie is in the same continuity as the Roger Rabbit one. But a rift forms between our two leads when Dale shows Chip a poster of himself in what I guess is a 007 parody. Because Chip wasn't told in advance, he's pretty ticked. Not that Dale feels any better, since he felt overshadowed for all these years.
Done being second banana.
But you're not second banana. I'm a banana, and you're just another banana. 2 bananas.
I guess Dale suspects Chip for only befriending him just to get a foil and look good in comparison. Sure enough, the Rescue Rangers show was canned, and Dale's show?
And Double O Dale was scrapped after the pilot.
Wah wah. We're finally in the present where Dale has now been converted into a CGI model, which will be explained in a bit. According to him anyway, the Rescue Rangers are in need of a reboot, and it looks like something is about to be revealed at a fan con.
Well, now, who here likes a little jazz music? Look for the bare necessities.
Alright, let's get this out of the way now. It seems that other animation mediums make an appearance in this movie, like CGI and the like. However, it's also possible that through surgery you can convert yourself to other mediums. Not sure if this is an allegory, but we also get claymation style characters and, well, you'll just have to wait and see. It's also at this point where the movie really starts sinking into what the trailers made it out to be, which is nothing but a marketing gimmick to show how much money Disney has to license non-Disney characters.
In the air, and pretty soon that crowd is going to be for me.
Yeah, Dale, I'm gonna be up on that stage too, right beside you.
And that's just sad. I know not many people were fond of the initial Sonic design, I included, but this just seems mean-spirited. It also feels like a low blow at internet culture that could seemingly force changes without acknowledging why that uproar happened in the first place. Dale is hoping to make a comeback, though Tigra from Marvel suggests working with Chip again. Speaking of Chip, he's now an insurance agent.
My job to pull the wool off your eyes. Figuratively.
You know, I'll take the whole package.
But he seems to be doing well, as he's living in a nice neighborhood with a security fence door that's guarding a tiny home. Again, pretty funny. Then the TV mentions that Flounder is missing and he's the 6th one to go missing? Wonder what that's about. Oh, and he has a dog now. That's cute. Moving on, he received a phone call from Monterey Jack, voiced here by Eric Bana.
You know, we haven't spoken in a long time, and I'm in a heck of a lot of trouble, and I could use some help.
Feeling nostalgia for the old days, Chip goes to visit Monty, who isn't doing well. He apparently bought more cheese than he could afford.
Then what's that?
Oh, crud. It's a really stinky gorgonzola. You weren't supposed to see that.
This happened in the show too, but in this setting, it kinda seems like an addiction to alcohol or drugs. Either way, he owes money to the Valley Gang, who have been known to be bootlegging people, like Flounder.
So they kidnapped the bloke, erase his mouth so he can't scream.
Well, this movie is finally starting to get darker like Roger Rabbit. So yeah, through some really messed up visuals that I sadly can't show in their entirety, we see that the kidnapped characters undergo some transformations and are forced to appear in bootleg products. I really don't know how this works. Is there a concept of copyright in this world? Is it then void with these bootleg characters? Of course, this could very easily be a metaphor to human trafficking and how its victims get forced into slave-like environments. There might even be an allusion to the racism in this setting, if this really tries to mirror Roger Rabbit. This would be a pretty good moment that has Chip wanting to help Monty, though it's kinda undermined by us learning that Zipper and Gadget got together and...
42 kids and counting.
Wow, look at that. That one's got Gadget's eyes and Zipper's wings.
Look, it's cartoon logic. It probably works. Apparently Dale got the call too, which is why he showed up. It's an awkward reunion since Chip still holds a grudge while Dale is still delusional about making a comeback. Also, Chip suspects Monty for bringing Dale along to pressure him into giving money.
That's why it's better to not even have friends.
That sure is a way to establish character, but now we have parody posters for movies they've done in this universe, and I really have to cringe at some of them. Like Batman vs. E.T. Just why? This sounds so much like what Al G. Rhythm came up with. So of course, he watches it at home.
E.T. Forgive Bat.
Fine.
Yeah, right. Like that would happen.
Anyway, Dale later gets a call from the police. He relays this to Chip since Monty is now missing and the police want a statement from the two of them. We then see the two cops from Wreck-It Ralph, a pair of shrooms, and Captain S. Putty, voiced by J.K. Simmons, aka the best J. Jonah Jameson ever.
You serious?
In any case, since the Valley Gang might have done this, there's nothing they can do.
What? So that's it? I thought the cops were supposed to serve and protect, not give up and move on.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
One thing we do know is that they're led by someone named Sweet Pete. There's also this one police officer named Ellie, played by Kiki Lane, who seems to be a big fan of our two heroes and became a detective because of them. She tells them that bootlegging takes 48 hours to do and that Monty must be held at a facility somewhere. Dale tries to convince Chip they should go look for him, but Chip has doubts because, well, they only acted as detectives on TV. But he decides to help, and he starts by finding the cheese he threw out earlier so they can track it to the shop that Monty last shopped at. And despite knowing they aren't real detectives, Dale is optimistic. Still funny. Through Dale's delusions of it being serious, they end up on the cheerful Main Street.
It's worse. It's a bunch of cartoons trading on their wholesome public image to keep the cops away and bring you the slimiest backwater bazaar of contraband this side of Guadalajara.
I don't know if he's serious or he's just trying to be funny. They try talking to the cheese shop owner, who was a literal Muppet. Again, the creativity of this movie is at least there. They convince them about wanting stinky cheese, so they're taken to an underground dealer den. I guess I wasn't kidding about this being an illegal substance. Chip kinda blows it by revealing that he's looking for Monty in exchange for offering insurance. If the guy is willing to sell contraband, I don't think he would need it. Dale also blows it with his act, but bounces back by revealing their past as actors for Rescue Rangers, which gets the attention of the Muppet. He thinks he should introduce them to his boss, after tossing them into a cheese truck.
The attitude! We were about to get kicked out with your plan, and now, thanks to my sweet improv, we're going to see Sweet Pete.
Oh, you're insane.
Am I?
Of course.
So you'd rather just give up?
No.
We should have just let him take the lead. What are you doing?
This is what you want in a Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, right? The two going through a midlife crisis and arguing about how things were better in the old days? This entire setup might have worked if we had original characters rather than pre-existing ones. But then again, maybe it would have ended up like most live-action / CGI movies that often involve characters driving in a truck with someone. Point is, it's kinda jarring with these two bickering a lot while the rest of the Rescue Rangers cast barely factoring into the story. Anyway, they arrive in Uncanny Valley.
Do you remember that weird animation style in the early 2000s where everything looked real but nothing looked right?
Oh yeah, that stuff was creepy.
Well, I think this is where they ended up.
Oh, so is the Scorpion King gonna show up? I feel like this should also be a metaphor since they make it seem like a slum for poorly animated characters, but I think we're past anything meaningful now. They meet Bob, a Viking voiced by Seth Rogen, who resembles mocap characters from Polar Express and the like. Though even they seemed more animated than this.
Fairness, it looks like you're talking to that window.
Nope, it actually looks like I'm looking right at you.
He takes them through their factory that might be where the bootleg stuff is made, though Bob counters by saying they only convert stuff that no one remembers into something useful, like porta potties. How fitting. Anyway, time for Sweet Pete.
Hello.
Peter Pan?
Yup, star of stage and screen, but you can call me Sweet Pete.
Much like Chip, he too is cel-shaded. He's also voiced by Will Arnett, who we last saw as the missing link in Monsters vs. Aliens. He doesn't quite hide the fact that he took Monty, but when Chip offers to pay for Monty and to give him a break, Peter elaborates on his backstory.
You know, I got my big break when I was just a kid. I got cast in the biggest movie in the world as the boy who wouldn't grow up, Peter Pan. I'd never been so happy in my entire life. Then I got older, and they threw me away like I was nothing.
So he ended up forming his own bootleg studio, and yeah, it's evident that he's the big bad in all this. But here I have major issues with this reveal. First of all, what this is all based on. Sweet Pete's backstory is essentially a reference to what happened with Bobby Driscoll, the original voice actor for Peter Pan. Disney did not let him voice that character once he grew too old, which led to a steady decline that also included drug abuse. Intentional or not, what happened in real life should not be graced for a villain origin story, especially by a studio that influenced it to begin with. Secondly, why isn't he going after corporate? Clearly his beef is with them, so why isn't he doing what Judge Doom did and just... Instead, you mutilate and traffic people who might not even be part of Disney as part of your money scheme. That doesn't make your case better, dude. Thirdly, why is Peter Pan even the main villain here? There are plenty of villains from Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, so use them instead. I wouldn't mind making an original villain, but all you did was take Peter Pan and renamed him Sweet Pete. That's not the same thing. Finally, this is a very big missed opportunity for them to take a stab at all the knockoff movies from Golden Films and Good Times Entertainment. However you think of them, their works were riding off of successes from Disney. So even though Chip was more than willing to bail out Monty's debts, Pete just decides to make bootlegs out of our heroes. They escape, but only by fleeing to the bathroom and going down the toilet. In a rather tense moment, they struggle in the sewers before using a paddleball to get out. At first, it seems only Chip made it, as Dale is just lying face down in water. False alarm, it's just a doll.
Of course. Chip, you were crying. You really do love me.
Way to ruin the moment, Dale. One thing they get out of this, Dale noted that Pete has a step tracker that could help with tracking him down and stopping more kidnappings. He and Chip invite Ellie over, in another funny bit with tiny objects, to discuss a plan to get that step tracker and find Pete's facility. She reveals that the police wouldn't be able to do much without warrants and such, and even goes over some backstory of hers involving a failed raid, which included the disappearance of Peppa Pig. Yes, really.
I made the whole squad raid Nickelodeon Junior Studios, and the Toons fought back. Paw Patrol attacked Sergeant Henderson. The doctors say he'll never have kids.
Did this movie just imply a race war? I know this movie is trying to dabble into dark stuff like Roger Rabbit did, but some of it makes little sense without proper context. We do get Chip and Dale reconciling, for now. Anyway, Ellie says that Sweet Pete goes to a Russian bathhouse, so to get them in, Dale decides to reenact episode 45 and disguise themselves as rat plumbers.
Yo, we're here to clean the pipes, or did you forget about it?
They pass by at least one cameo I recognize. Hi, Randy. Oh, and hi, Uncle Scrooge. You know gold coins are solid, right? Peter Griffin should know. They see Pete put his step tracker away, but before they can grab it, a snake with another possibly offensive accent appears.
I am huge fanboy! Ah, cool.
Dale has to distract him with a rap song, which was foreshadowed by an earlier showing of Alvin and the Chipmunks, while Chip cracks the combination to Pete's locker. He almost gets caught by the snake, so he has to rap too, but he actually enjoys himself here. Enough to even do a skit with Dale.
Never eat quail!
Okay, what? How did you know what I was gonna say?
How did you know what I was gonna say? It was like, professional.
Same time!
Jinx! You owe me a non-brand specific cola!
Now they can locate the facility. The raid is set up and our heroes join in.
Ready the battering ram!
Heh, battering rams. That's funny. Looks like this place is legit because they find evidence of all the bootleg victims present. Oh, and the bootleg machine. But as Dale turns on the lights, Chip accidentally turns on the machine. At least they now get to see how it works.
Scanning them and rendering what they'll look like in different animation styles.
Chip frees Dale before he suffers the same fate, and as part of their escape, Dale recites old episode plots that Chip remembers. Looks like the boys are rekindling their relationship after all.
You're not. Huh?
I hope that's fixable. They find leftover items and pieces of cartoon characters, including Sora's hair. No, not my boy. Monty's mustache is here, so he's been bootlegged. Even if Pete is caught, that's still too late for a former friend. Speaking of Sweet Pete, he's actually tracking our heroes by following Dale's fan account. Chip wonders if somehow Pete knew they were coming. Dale tries coping with his fan account, But that only bothers Chip even more and they start arguing again.
Sure, my life is lonely, but at least I didn't feel like this.
Oh, yeah? Well, you're the same too. Chip's always in charge. Chip's always right. It's Chip's way or the highway.
At least Chip gives him this one commemorative pog that Dale needed for his collection, and we learn why Dale tried striking out on his own years ago. He wanted Chip to feel like he needed him.
What? Don't give me that. That's the exact same thing I just said to you.
Wait, no, it's not. I said silly reason. You said stupid reason.
Well, damn it. But then they smell a similar scent. It's Monty's cologne, and it leads straight to Captain Putty? Well, Chip says that would be the obvious choice because of the show, but he thinks Ellie did it? I knew you were cynical, but come on. It's perfectly reasonable that the chief of police would be involved with a crime syndicate. Chip suggests getting help from the FBI, so Dale leads them to Ugly Sonic, because he claimed to have an FBI contact. They do the joke of his mouth again, and then are spotted by Sweet Pete. They realize he must be following his social media posts, so it's time to make a getaway.
Here, grab the first thing you can.
I mean, are they wrong? They do everything to evade Pete and his goons, and Bob almost gets them before falling into the most shameless joke of all.
What are you looking at? Honestly, your weird dead eyes.
They are weird. Super weird.
We get it. You voiced a lot of characters. Ha ha. They get help from Lumiere and Tigra, but Chip gets captured by Jimmy. Ellie gets called by Putty to help him deal with Pete, who has Chip all taped up. The two cops show up and, shock of all shocks, Putty is a bad guy.
Dale was right. Ah, how cliche.
I know, it is a bit unoriginal, right? Sweet Pete, remember when you first approached me to turn bad, be a bad...
You know, she could probably kick you. You're just a tiny man with a pea shooter. And yeah, he gave her the fake tip for the botched raid just 'cause money. Back with Dale, he's still reeling from losing Chip, but Ellie calls him to come help her while leaving a code in reference to a Rescue Rangers episode. Dale watches it to better understand, but his car broke down, so he has to get help from Gadget and Zipper. Man, where were they this entire time? Anyway, Gadget has Tress MacNeille reprise her role, but Zipper is voiced by Dennis Haysbert.
Dale, old chum, the sight of you lights my heart aglow.
Rangers, I need your help.
We love you, bud, but we just can't invest in any more of your independent movies.
The villains prepare to use the machine on Chip, while Dale and the others fly on over. Dale gets a call from his agent about some cool new opportunity, but Dale finally decides that his friends are more important. He ends up crashing in on a firecracker, which disrupts the machine and saves Chip. As they reconcile, Dale tries talking Pete out of erasing them. It doesn't work, but the machine goes haywire and grabs every metal object it can before exploding. Hidden Mickey, folks! Then the machine starts turning Pete into something else. While Ellie goes after Putty, the boys have to face off against a transformed Pete, who's just an amalgamation of other characters, including Fat Cat? I don't know. Oh, and they found where they shot the bootleg stuff, which is here and not overseas like he claimed. Ellie fights Putty, and okay, I can see him being a legit threat now. Honestly, this is the most entertaining part of this climax. A Clayman using every kind of morph to try and kill Ellie? Why can't he be the main villain? Anyway, Ellie freezes Putty with a fire extinguisher, and I think she kills him by shattering him? Our heroes, after crossing different sets, remember another episode where they defeated Fat Cat with a crate. But this time, Chip decides to be the distraction, and it almost works. Then the FBI shows up, and turns out Ugly Sonic had connections after all. The boys get a chance to drop the crate on Pete, and the boys celebrate by singing their song. But Pete has one last thing planned. Damn! Through tears, Chip admits that he was once at risk of shutting out everyone else as a young boy. But his mom told him to go to school and reach out because the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. So naturally he was drawn to Dale, and now realizes how important their relationship is. And of course, Dale's fine because that pog from earlier took the bullet. Our heroes do some more sniffing around and find all sorts of bootlegged characters, including Monty. Now all the Rescue Rangers are here, and Ellie is also part of that gang now.
Does this mean we are officially friends again?
Sure. I guess some things are worth rebooting.
Oh, you said it!
Oh, and during the credit sequence, it's implied that everyone was fixed up since we see Monty no longer looking like a mouseified Dumbo. The villains are also in jail now, even Putty cause he survived. And we also get plenty of shilling of licensed properties. Take it all in. Unironically though, where's my Smash Brothers with Disney Afternoon characters? Make it happen, Disney! Well, this was certainly an experience. There's a much better movie underneath the one we got because, oh boy, while it's not the worst thing I've seen, I can see why someone could have found this movie wanting. It starts out fine with the promise of following Roger Rabbit as a crime noir, with some themes and allegories to real-life social issues like racism. But this premise uses established characters rather than pseudo-original ones that were inspired from a book. And given the marketing of the movie, it's clear that the big problem is how they flaunt their licensed characters, on top of them making fun of certain art styles that internet culture judged to be wrong. Whether or not they had a point, there's no need for a movie to add onto the dog pile. This sort of attitude detracts from some pretty decent world building. I stand by my belief that they tried making this world unique by expanding on what was known with Roger Rabbit, but really, the ultimate problems lie with the story. I can kind of see where they were going for regarding Chip and Dale, but I was also hoping to get more out of their friends, who would have been affected by the show's cancellation as well. But then the movie decides to do things halfway by not having villains from the original show come back, and one of them is based on the tragedies of a real person. Even with the humor, which had its moments, I can't excuse everything else. Ellie isn't that interesting. Dale wanting to rekindle some creative spark only goes so far for me, and Chip's cynicism gets annoying after a while. It just makes me wish that they just did a straight follow-up to the Rescue Rangers TV show. That setup won't be as nuanced as Roger Rabbit, but in trying to mimic that movie, this one suffers for it. Since this was made as a Disney Plus original film, it only had a short theatrical run that grossed $623,000 against a $70 million budget. I imagine viewership is what made up for it, and it did get mostly positive reviews from both critics and audiences. But there's enough of a backlash to discourage making another, especially now that we're in an era where corporations want to make use of AI to replace animators just to save money. I won't fault anyone for liking this movie because there are a few things it does well. For me, it's fine. I'll take this over some of the worst movies I've covered any day. Just don't expect a recommendation though, because I personally don't think it deserves it. I'm the Media Hunter. Media's my prey and reviewing them my way.